Hey guys, Anjanette Russell here. I hope everyone is staying well and staying healthy and everything. I am here to talk about the wonders of Chapter 9 and language development with infants and young toddlers and older toddlers. So let's get to it. Language is a huge passion of mine. I think infant development and language go hand in hand. I am a firm believer of talking with newborns. You know, the moment Rochelle was born, the first thing I did was I talked to her and I held her and I was like, oh, it's so great to finally meet you. You know, I've been waiting 9 months to be able to hold you in my arms. And I'm not gonna lie, my husband looked at me like I was a weirdo, and I'm like, no, this is what children need. You have to talk to them. So it's very, very important for you to, yeah, talk to children, talk about what you see, what you're doing, what you hear, what you taste, everything. I think it just helps them have a better understanding about what's going on in the world and whatnot. Um, Rochelle was right at 11 months old when she said her first word, which was outside. Not the typical first word for young children. Usually it's like ball, dada, something to that effect. But yeah, she said outside, which is a compound word, which is kind of crazy. But we were always going outside. We're very outdoorsy people. We like to go camping. We took her camping from the time she was right at like 7 weeks old. Um, Now, our version of going camping is we have a camper. I've done the tent camping thing. I'm way too old for that. So yeah, we would take her camping and we'd spend time outside and we'd have bonfires and roast marshmallows and make s'mores and all that stuff. And just getting children outside and talking about nature and what they see and what they hear and what they touch. That's why I've got the beautiful trees in the background. I wanted to come to you from outside in honor of her first word, which was outside. Typically, girls talk sooner than boys, typically, not all the time, but since 2009 I've been teaching young toddlers at the University of Georgia, and for the most part girls vocabulary develops a lot faster, whereas boys, they have their strengths with developing their gross motor, you know, being able to climb things and jump off of things and that type of thing. So yeah, typically girls' vocabulary blossoms sooner. Boys, it will come. I know I've had so many parents of young boys in my class, and they're like, "Why won't my son talk?" I'm like, "Trust me, he will. He will. Give him time. You know, just keep encouraging him and talk to him and describe what you see and everything, and he will talk. It's gonna happen. I promise." You know, and it does every time. And then the parents are like, "Oh, my child never shuts up now," and I'm like, "See, I told you it was gonna happen." But yeah, so typically girls talk sooner than boys. Last year when Jacob was in my class, he was also in the class with a little girl named Isla, and she has the biggest vocabulary of any young toddler I've ever seen. And her mom was like, "I don't know why she talks so much. She just does." And I'm like, "That's great, and that's because you guys talk to her, you know." And I mean, she would tell you stories, and then she'd get you to like tell me a once upon a time story, you know, and that type of thing. I don't know if some of you have had the ability to meet her. She is now in the older toddler classroom, and she will continue to talk your ear off. So Jacob, when he was little, his first word right at 12 months old was ball. Not surprising by any means. He loves balls. He loves trucks. He loves tractors. He is a very typical boy in that type of aspect. Actually, yesterday, him and Rochelle were playing outside, and she was on her scooter, and he was on his bike, and he was mad at her, and he just ran into her, like full speed ahead while she's on her scooter. And I'm like, "What are you doing? You're gonna hurt her." And my husband came home, and he's like, "That's what siblings do. I know you don't understand this, but that's what siblings do. They fight, they bicker." And I'm like, "He could have killed her. Like, what was he thinking, you know?" So we talked about it. We talked about with Jacob, when you run into Rochelle, you could hurt her. It ended up that karma is instant, and when he ran into her, he was the one that fell off of his bike and cried and got hurt and everything. And I was like, "See, this is why you cannot do that." But once again, talking with children, talking them through things, that type of thing. I thought it was nice how the chapter touched a little bit on sign language with children. To me, it could have said more about the importance with sign language with children. When Rochelle was right at 8 months old, we started using sign language with her. The thing that we did was we started with one sign and we did more. This is more, it's very easy for children to understand, and it applies to a lot of different concepts, whether they're eating, whether they're playing, that type of thing. They can say more. And so we did it, and I would look at her, you know, in her face, and I would say more, more. And then I would take her hands and do it with her. More. Do you want more peas? And it took a good 3 to 4 weeks of us doing this every day, multiple times a day. And then she finally got it, and she was like, and I'm like, yay, she wants more. She loves vegetables. I'm not sure why. Peas, green beans, asparagus, kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts. The other night I made kale chips, and I actually failed as a mom because I didn't make enough, and they were like fighting over the last little bits of kale chip crumbs, and I was like, I'm sorry guys, I didn't make enough. I've learned my lesson since then. I now make more. But yeah, so more great sign language to start with. If you don't know any signs and you're interested in that, Google is a great place to start with just typing in, you know, how do you sign more? How do you sign all done? All done, please. There's about 10 to 12 signs we use on a typical basis in the young toddler classroom, especially at the beginning of the school year. So school starts in August, September, October. We are constantly using these signs. More milk, please. And when we're doing it, we are saying what we're doing, right? Water. That's so that the children can understand that more looks like this and it sounds like this. And then after I say more, I will point to my mouth and go more. And then children will do that. They'll point to their mouth and they'll say, more milk, please. And it's the cutest thing ever. I actually heard that trick from a speech therapist who, her daughter was in my class 8 years ago, I think it was. And yeah, so I was like, hey, what can we do to help children with speech sounds? And she told me, and I was like, that is perfect, you know, let's do it. And then it ended up actually that her third child, her son, a boy, he was very delayed when it came to speech. And I was like, of course, that's how the world works, right? And she was like, I'm not worried about him. I know it'll come, it'll come, it'll come. He had 2 older sisters. They loved to talk for him. So anytime at home, they would be like, Jake wants this, Jake wants that, Jake needs this, you know, so he didn't have to talk at all. He eventually did end up talking, and now he talks all the time. But yeah, it happens. So do not worry. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was the importance of using multiple language with young children. So I have a brother-in-law who just turned 12 at the end of March. Yes, he's my brother-in-law, and he's 12 years old, and his mother is Hungarian. So when he was first born, she would talk to him on Hungarian and everything, describe things that she saw. And then, unfortunately, as time went on, she just wasn't able to maintain that and just got tired because her husband doesn't speak Hungarian. He only speaks English. And so she got tired of trying to repeat herself multiple times. And unfortunately, she no longer speaks to her son in Hungarian. And therefore, he doesn't know hardly any Hungarian now that he's 12 years old. Whereas when he was first born, like, that's all she would do was speak to him in Hungarian. So I think it's really important for families, if you have a child and you want them to learn multiple languages, to start that from the very beginning and continue that on through their development. You know, firstborn, a month old, 2 months old, 3 months old, all the way up to a year, and then continue that on as much as possible. I know it's hard. Parenting is hard. It's not easy. Especially now with everyone, you know, having to stay at home and teach children at home while working digitally and everything. But yeah, it's really important. And like, I'm disappointed And I feel bad for my brother-in-law who could have the opportunity to be fluent in English and Hungarian, and he's not. So yeah, like I said, it's not anyone's fault. It's just kind of a missed opportunity that I'm like, man, I wish she could have done that, and stuck with it. He knows a couple keywords and phrases in Hungarian, but nothing to where he could carry on a full conversation like she can, obviously, because she is Hungarian. So just keep that in the back of your mind. One thing that I do, and I've been doing this since, the first year I started teaching young toddlers, is I incorporate a lot of Spanish and Chinese into our group time lessons. We'll do a lot of counting in Spanish and a lot of counting in Chinese, and we sing colors in Spanish, and I have included a couple of links on the Chapter 9 PowerPoint where you can actually watch the YouTube videos that I went to school to perform these videos for my young toddler children to watch while at home during this social distance learning time that we are experiencing. So take a moment, check those out. You're not going to be graded on it or anything, but I just want you to see this is what a typical group time looks like and how we try to incorporate different languages. And same things with meal times. I'll be pouring the milk at the table and I'll be like, más leche, por favor, more milk, please, and just trying to throw in those different vocabulary words throughout the day just to expose children to as many words as possible. One thing that I want you guys to think about is with this whole digital learning time and everything is how so many parents depend on the internet, YouTube, Netflix to watch these shows. Their children watch these shows about, how to teach your child how to talk, how to teach your child how to read, those type of things. I have a very strong opinion about that. I will let you watch the video link that I've included in the PowerPoint about, it is an actual YouTube link to a video that claims it will teach your baby to talk and read. And I was just blown away by the lack of resources that it shows in the first minute of the video. So yeah, take a minute in the PowerPoint, watch that video link, and just think about, is this a really good use of time? Whereas you could sit down with your child or child that you're with, teaching whatever, and talk to them and tell them a story, read them a book. I think books are key. I love books. We're obsessed with children's books. There are literally books in every room of the house, even on the kitchen floor right now. Don't judge me. Bathroom, living room, bedroom. We read books all the time. That's our little ritual. Go pick some books, read it. You don't have to read just before bedtime. You can read all throughout the day, when they wake up in the morning, after they brush their teeth, before going to school, when they get home from school. We read books all throughout the day in the young toddler classroom, older toddler classroom, infant classroom, at the CDL all day long. We have specific group times, and I've had children actually argue with me, and I'm like, okay, this is our last book, and they're like, one more. I'm like, we've got to eat lunch, guys. Like, lunch is in there getting cold because we're out here reading. But I will definitely take that opportunity to read with them. And once again, there are also, I believe I included some links of me reading books as well. I might not have. But if you want to go onto YouTube and you could actually type in Young Toddlers 2020 Anjanette Russell, and everything will pop up of all the videos that I've made since this digital learning experience has started. Just because I'm trying to give the parents a little bit of normalcy. I know they're not able to actually send their children to school, but if they can sit and have their child watch a familiar face like me read a book that I know they love, well, I can, give them a little bit of hope and a break and that type of thing. So yeah, check it out. Let me know what you think. There's also a thing in the PowerPoint that is for the discussion for this class. So there are 2 pictures that I want you to describe. And once you see those in the PowerPoint, you will see what I'm talking about. Just pick one picture and I want you just to describe that picture as best you can. If you were talking to a young toddler, like what would you do to describe that? Oh, I see that it's sunny outside and the sun is in my eyes, but good thing the sun's out because it helps the plants grow, and that way it's able to dry out all the rain from the other night that we had. Yeah, talk to children, talk to children, talk to children. Do not be afraid. I know people are going to say, you're repeating yourself. You already said that. That's what children need. They need repetition. They need to hear it all the time, right? Day in, day out. Do not be afraid to talk to them. I'm trying to think of what else I wanted to say about this. I could talk a long time about the importance of talking with children, but I feel like there's a lot of good information in the chapter. There's some great information in the PowerPoint. I hope I've shared with you some great information. I'm a firm believer, once again, of the sign language with young children. And it's even nice now. I know this morning I was on a Zoom meeting for work, and Rochelle came up to me and she was asking me a question, and I did this, which means wait. And she knew, as a 7-year-old, that meant that she had to wait, right? So even now, it's beneficial. Both my children can talk perfectly well. But the fact that she knew this meant wait, and she was like, okay, I'll wait a minute. Really, that minute turned into like 20 seconds, but still, she got the point. So yeah, I hope that helps answer some questions. I don't know if you had any questions. Like I said, there was a lot of information in the chapter. But yeah, language is very important to young children. And thank you for participating in this class. And I hope everyone is well and takes care. Okay, thanks so much.